and welcome. You're watching the Capitol Rat House from New York on LiveONETV. Don't forget to follow. Today, I'll be talking with my co-host Dion Powell about Turning Point's AMFest. All right, welcome to LiveONE.TV. I'm Ian Carpenter with Dion.
How you doing, guys?
Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays to everyone. And we have a lot to talk about. Dion's just come back from Turning Point USA.
AMFest, America Fest 2025, Phoenix, Arizona.
Fest like in festival?
Yes, you could say that.
And it was at the Phoenix Convention Center, is that right?
That's correct.
So how many days was it?
This is piggybacking off my organization, which is TPUSA Rises event, which was last Wednesday, the 17th to Sunday, December 21st. And then after that, the former organization known as Blexit, it goes over to America Fest, which was from that Thursday onward. So, I think it was from Tuesday on. Well, anyway, long story short, we were the volunteers there. We had a table and everything. TPUSA Rise, formerly known as Blexit. So we made a previous video here about Candace Owens and what was going on with Blexit. But now it's time for us to report from the ground what we observed there at AMFest and all the fractures in MAGA therein. And as to why, what we saw on the ground, and give you guys, the viewers, the perspective as objective as possible as someone who is not white, but in the fight of the right. Bam.
Yeah, man. So, without any order, and by the way, I apologize, I'm joking. I keep on seeing these podcasters, and they're so proud to have their goddamn coffee cups and that, but you know.
Our thing is hibiscus. I didn't even know it had a name. I thought it was just ginger, hot water, lemon, and honey, because that's the thing that for the diet, so I didn't know it was called hibiscus.
That is what it is, but anyway, it's cold in New York today. A big storm's rolling in. You just came back from Arizona where it was 80 degrees.
Yeah, there's low 30s. That was nice.
Okay.
Nice to get away.
So, without any order, you saw James O'Keefe there wearing a bulletproof vest. How about that?
Man, I went through VIP entrance behind our director, and then I did somebody throw their name badge in a little container there by the metal detector. I looked down and said, James O'Keefe. So I turned around, this guy, a white boy looking like 50 Cent, with his whole bulletproof garb on, because there it's legal in Phoenix to have a whole bulletproof vest. And I was like, wow, I guess this is serious, a threat. These people do want you to be, clipped, as they say. So these guys are fearful for their lives, for the work that they do.
Yeah, so I saw a clip, I'm pretty sure it was James O'Keefe at the Turning Point, where he had on a pink jacket, and he was showing some clips over the years that he's been involved in. First at Project Veritas,
yes,
and then his own company, O'Keefe, a media group, and he was wearing a wig. And I guess he was just having some fun and being campy.
Potentially. There's a lot of characters at these things. I mean, as a comparison, because I'm, this whole world, let's see, for a few years, is all new to me and fascinating. And, it takes time to adjust to the right. Fine. But I went to something else called CPAC last year, which is another conservative conference.
Was that in Washington?
In Washington, D.C., yes. I was at that. Sponsor, shout out to Little Africa News that sponsored me to go down there. And yes, it's a very fascinating world. And when you're there as a black person, you're like, they say, a fly in the milk. It's like you notice I stand out because there's so few of us there. More so now that, Candace Owens is not really involved. There's some other black pundits as well. But that's okay. People have the right to have their space. Now, one thing you might want to cut away to is what happened to Myron Gaines. He's from, I think, the Sudan, and he talks about issues. And he was kicked out. And so I had some people that were there because Dom McCree knows me. I met with Dom. Shout out to Dom. I didn't get to take a selfie with Dom. That's my regret for the weekend. But he was hanging out with them. They asked
I'm sure he'll send you a signed one.
Yeah, so they kicked them out. So that wasn't a good look because the video of them kicking them out, there's a guy that walks by that makes a comment in the video saying, yes, thank God they're not letting Muslims in this year. And I'm like, that doesn't help your cause.
No, it doesn't.
So there's a lot of division going on that I wouldn't like to explore and get into. But I just want to see what your thoughts are, what your curiosity might be at what's going on.
All right, let's run that clip.
Myron Gaines. I actually have the video, which I'll shoot your way, that it was there. If you look at my Facebook, Dion Powell, and you see all the things that that happened. Yeah, because I actually text Dom real time because that's what I heard happened. Because my friend from New Jersey called me and said, Dion, be careful out there, with these white supremacists because they're always worried about me in this realm. And he's like, you were happening to this guy? I was like, oh, okay.
Well, it is a hairy atmosphere because I saw photographs from this Turning Point USA. There's a video of Ben Shapiro speaking, but at the same time there was a formal stage set that said Ben Shapiro's a faggot.
Yes.
And this is all a part of the new Turning Point USA, I guess.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Niki Minaj. I mean, this is...
Right. And so, I'm sending Ian the clips real time of what's happening on the ground there. But yes, the common denominator when it comes to fractures in the MAGA movement is Ben Shapiro. Because Ben Shapiro was one of the first people to speak, and that may have been a mistake, because everybody after it actually had a small rebuttal to what he was talking about, because he mentioned names, and of course Israel came up. So it's very bad now. There was a booth where, they have a change your mind booth where they have a couple of poster boards there. And one of them said Ben Shapiro's a faggot. So of course it caught my eye, like, wow, they're talking to this guy. The guy's sitting there, yes, that's how I feel. Somebody changed my mind. Someone sat in a chair like this, trying to counter argument. But nobody really could. So the only person just sat there, just, fiddling their tongues, making some, monologues into the camera. But you could sense in the air on the ground the fractures in MAGA. Now, my point is, Ben Shapiro, because he attacked people, he seems to be the common denominator as the one that perpetuates the fracture of America First, Never Trumpers, rhinos, neoconservatives, or neocons as they're called. Now, thanks to Tucker Carlson, there are people who are pushed so far that they're called America Only, when it comes to pure isolationism, not just America First. Those people exist. And then, of course, some people say there are elements of Nick Fuentes Groypers that were there. And they have their
Groypers were there.
And I'm like, as a black guy, from the center-right, from former Blexit, now TPUSA Rise, it is all fascinating to me.
Right.
Because in some situations, people love me when I have my Black Lives MAGA t-shirt on. Let me take a picture with you. Oh, my God. There were some protesters there. When I walked by the protesters with my Black Lives MAGA t-shirt, they said, oh my God, I'm sure Black Lives MAGA, look at him. I'm sure I like his big cock, your big cock. And that was the best heckle I've ever gotten. I've been called white supremacist and all things, but that was the best heckle of my life. I'm sure they love your big cock. And, and the like. But, what do you think, Ian, from your observations outside looking in?
All right. So, well, on the topic of America Only, so I believe that Nick Fuentes is burning out, will burn out, may take a long time. The American First movement for me is been replaced by the America Only movement. And I don't agree that it's isolationist, but that's maybe, if that's what your interpretation,
that's the label you would give it, because they want just to focus on America, and that's it at this point. America First is, we are the leaders of the world, and we're fixing ourselves. But now it's gotten so bad, and the divisive thanks to Ben Shapiro, people's like, Tucker Carlson, look at his stuff. He said America Only, in which we just focus on America. That's it. That's all we need to talk about. We don't want to hear anything else.
Well, that's an interpretation of it. Actually, I identify with America Only because we only have authority for passing laws in our own country. And so if I sort of briefly put together the things I've learned over the years, primarily from Ron Paul and many others too, but I think the conversation gets really easier if we talk about foreign aid. And I believe in no foreign aid. And there's only 2 members of Congress. There's 435 elected members of Congress.
This is the Mouse House.
Yeah, this is the Mouse House, the Rat House, right here. It's right behind us. They're scurrying around inside, okay? But there's 435 elected officials here. That's 100 senators. That's 2 senators for each state. We're talking about your U.S. senators, not your state senators. That's another position. All right, so of these 435 congressmen, there are only 2 who are no foreign aid. That's Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene. And she is...
leaving.
She's leaving. Thank you. All right, so we have two, and Rand Paul would follow third. So here's what I'd like to say about no foreign aid. There's nothing in the Constitution that authorizes me or an elected official, these people, to take your money and give it to a foreign country. And people who want to argue that the General Welfare Clause allows for that kind of thing because it creates more prosperity in this country, I believe that's a deformed interpretation of the Constitution. So I maintain that no foreign aid is the best policy for these elected officials. That doesn't mean that you yourself, the citizen, can't write a check to whatever country you love. Maybe it's Macedonia. Maybe it might be South Korea. Maybe you have a soft spot for Taiwan or Bolivia or another country. Pull out your checkbooks and knock yourself out. Go ahead and send your money. So this type of foreign aid is available. And I'll take it a step further. Suppose you have a small, medium-sized company, or even your Larry Fink at BlackRock. Have a shareholder meeting or pull your board together, and maybe you could send a quarter of your profits of BlackRock to another country. There's your foreign aid. Go ahead, send it, Larry, to your favorite country. I know you'd be sending it to Northern Scotland, right? No, whatever country you want, go right ahead. But this money here that's collected from American people is going to stay in this country. Because most of the time when foreign aid is given to another country, we see the dictators of that country buying luxury cars, buying luxury homes in London or South Florida. It never really ends up becoming aid to the people over there. Or it's used to prop up dictators, which create more problems for us. So foreign aid, if you want to write your own check, if a company wants to, let them knock themselves out. America only means the money that's collected here stays in this country. And, however, if another country has an earthquake, a tragedies like a tsunami, a hurricane, that is not an egregious violation of the Constitution for us to send even over an aircraft carrier,
right,
to send them over doctors, tents, food. And Americans, when well informed, are the greatest people and very generous when they're properly informed about a problem. And so I don't think anybody's going to object to us assisting countries who have catastrophes of that type. That's what no foreign aid means. It means the government can't be involved in taking American people's money and giving it to foreign countries. Private citizens, your own company, knock yourself out. So I don't see it as isolationist. They used to call Ron Paul an isolationist.
Maybe it's a bad stigma of a word.
It is.
It's kind of like pragmatic and moderate are now centrists. So we got to have another term for it, perhaps.
I hope that people will stick to those issues, because I go and I speak to people, and some people are concerned about health care, some people are concerned about abortion, religious rights, freedom of speech, whatever their different issues are. One really great cause to find in a politician is ones who support no foreign aid. There's only two at the moment, Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene. We need more. And I will never vote for a candidate who supports foreign aid. Okay? That's my report card on them. You're into foreign aid, you're disqualified. And I hope more people will realize this could solve so many things.
Well, those people exist so far more so at AmericaFest and beyond, because people like Ben Shapiro are so set in their ways about Israel support. Now, one thing was a drawback is that Candace Owens wasn't there to defend herself, because of course most of the speakers would beat up on her. Now, I sent you a video about Ben Shapiro being asked about the USS Liberty, right, and how he was very dismissive of that incident and how we shouldn't really dwell upon that kind of mistake. Okay, another speaker that came up and mentioned U.S.'s liberty as being used to put a wedge in our support for Israel right now. But the issue there that came up, because there were quite a few Jews there with the yarmulke as well, is the greater Israel expanse that they're doing with the Gaza and things like that. You could just see certain eyes in the room. I mean, the expo center, watching on big screens, because, there's a section where everybody's in the big audience, but the big screens, you can just see the eyeballs roll when there's like, sometimes they were talking about this greater Israel expanse, like, oh, here we go, we're still stuck in this war. And there's a lot of young people there. But to my surprise, the rumors were like, yes, Sunday's a day. There's going to be a special surprise guest. And in my brain, I was like, I'm just going to sleep in. It's probably Trump or somebody's world. Niki Minaj showed up. And we all know that was a big deal in the African-American community. This is like, But of course, there's a lot of gatekeeping. Of course, people like me couldn't be, in our circles or, take pictures. Fine. I didn't go because, I didn't know what it was. But Niki Minaj actually, I got to admit, did cause a lot of waves. So, Ian, what do you think?
I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard she lost millions of followers almost immediately.
Now, this is when the fake news hit.
Okay.
Because when I did my little post about Niki Minaj and things of that nature, I noticed that on Instagram she was there. So I researched it before that. And her Instagram was actually deactivated in October. So all this stuff now is fake news. Even if you act AI said, admit, Niki Minaj deactivated her Instagram in October because of another situation. But this one, you have to admit, it takes courage for her to go in eyes wide open, knowing that she would do this and she would lose so much. She probably didn't have an idea of how the extent would be, but you can see all the vile hate venom. And one thing I want to give shout out to Candace Owens, because I did put Candace Owens in my pictures on my Facebook and Instagram. I tagged her, thanking her. We took a picture with the Blexity flag that we had here in the previous episode, because I knew it would cause waves, because people don't want to, when organizations do these rebrandings, they don't like people like me that will actually give a shout out to this person. But Candace Owens, shout out to you. Thank you for sending your love through the DM. Candace Owens actually did. I took a screenshot. After all these years of service of Blexit and all we do, we love you. Thanks for the DM. So back to Niki Minaj. What's your thoughts?
I don't know, in rock and roll, which has been a major part of my life, not too many musicians went public, and singers about political opinions. I mean, there are some notable exceptions to that, but Elvis Presley, for example, kept his politics almost to himself. And was asked about his opinions on political things and hardly had anything to say. Mick Jagger from the Rolling Stones, there was a time in the 1960s where he was invited on to programs for political discussion. And they would ask him about what are young people doing, and they're protesting the Vietnam War. They would ask him political questions, and he did a bit of back and forth engagement, but not much after that. I think Mick put his expressions into his music. So, you didn't hear, and I've often wondered, why doesn't Mick Jagger come out like
Roger Waters
from Pink Floyd, who's been very much in support of the Palestinian people, and Julian Assange? I mean, if you don't know, or you like Pink Floyd, he's been very, very political and very vocal. And not all the other members of Pink Floyd support him. David Gilmour and him are, I think, barely even speaking, okay? So it's interesting, and I thought that Bono from U2, you sort of see them as a political group, but I haven't heard much from him in the last few years. I think maybe he's done enough and doesn't figure it's a lifelong struggle, or that he's going to, do things forever. But I don't have a clue or really where he's standing right now. Maybe I'll, after this broadcast, try and find out.
But the question is, do you feel as though these major arts, sports figures, millionaires, as we would call them, influencers of their particular niche, do you feel people like Nicki Minaj should publicly disclose their political stance because they don't like the people like us. It's illegal to tell people or show people your ballot or who you voted for. So what are your thoughts of her, like someone like her going public?
Niki Minaj, I think it's great. She wants to be more involved. I think she got in originally with the Nigerian or the African when Trump was talking about, the
thing is, she
protection of religious rights.
Yes, again, this is the Christians that are persecuted around the world more so because people are supposed to feel sympathy towards the Jewish community because of what's going on in Israel, but there's a lot of Christians being persecuted and executed in Muslim nations as well as, things of nature. But a lot of people have to realize in the African American community, Black community, hip hop culture, when it comes to Niki Minaj, this was a long time coming. This stems back to 2021 when Niki Minaj made a comment on her social media saying that she heard from her cousin, I believe, that the COVID vaccine was causing menstrual issues. Something along those lines. And Candace Owens was blowing the whistle about that then, that the COVID vaccine was causing menstrual problems in women. And I have a lot of female friends that actually said, yes, that is true. They tried to destroy her then. And I think that's what snowballed into this progressively, pushing her, like so many others from the blue team, into the right or Uncle Trump's arms. And that's something that needs to be explored. Tucker Carlson came to her defense as well at the time. But now the move with Niki Minaj is, her speaking out certain things. And with Erica Kirk there, it's the opportune time because she did mention such inflammatory statements as, a boy is a boy and it's okay for a boy to be a boy. And this has been one of those cultural issues that have pushed more votes this way. And so if they're able to bring in Niki Minaj and some other her followers over, now the rumor is she did lose 10 million followers, but that's not true because at the time I tried to tag her and if you look at the internet and do your own research, you can see that she deactivated her Instagram in October, but it's a great thing. People are happy that, she's losing followers and she needs to be punished. But no, it's only pushing more people of color into the center right as a result.
Can we check AI?
Yes.
Whether her fall right. Let's we're using Grok here. Hey, Grok, tell us, as a result of Niki Minaj speaking at Turning Point, has there been a noticeable drop in her followers on social media?
Nah, not really. There's a ton of viral noise claiming she dropped 10 million followers after showing up at Turning Point USA's AmericaFest and chatting with Erica Kirk, but that's way exaggerated. Her Instagram was around 227 million in November, dipped a normal few million by December. She deactivated before too, and now the account's just off again. No mass exodus proven. On X, she's still posting strong. No big drop there either. Just the usual internet freak out.
Yeah, very good AI, because people said even though if it was true that she lost over 10 million followers, she has over 200 million where that comes from.
That's huge. That's huge.
So hopefully more people in the hip hop universe, and what I hope will happen is that she would maybe turn up a new leaf and then put out positive music, because the first time ever, I believe, in a long time, hip-hop music is not even making the top 40 on the charts or top 50 in the charts. So if she is, as they say, reform or born again, if you're a believer in this aspect, she starts putting positive music and leads a lot of other artists to start putting out positive music in our culture, I'll think it'd be for the better. Okay, well, that's all we have here from LiveONETV in front of the Capitol Mouse House. I represent the mice, which are the staffers, and he represents the rats, which are the actual elected officials. But this year is an election year, which means they're up for job renewal. So that means that either you re-elect them, you vote them out. Some people aren't running for election. Hopefully you run for office in 2026. We hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we're going to be back in the new year with more LiveONETV.